The game of golf has been shaped by some legendary figures, pioneers whose brilliance helped the sport develop and evolve. Golfing World's resident coach Simon Holmes is looking back at the careers of players who inspired generations. Today his attention turns to a man with one of the most envied swings in the modern game, the Big Easy, Ernie Els.
Ernie Els was born in Johannesburg, South Africa in 1969 and was instinctively a superb athlete. Could have played rugby, could have played tennis, all of those different sports, and you can tell by his physique and his rhythm that he really was a natural athlete. So starts playing golf at 8 years old. By the time he's 14, he's already off scratch, and he goes to America to compete in the junior world, and he defeats Phil Mickelson to win that title. But anyway, he goes back to South Africa, turns professional at 20 years old, and goes on to win and dominate the Sunshine Tour. Anytime you're in South Africa and you go into a clubhouse, there'll be a picture of Ernie Els standing with a trophy, and if you look at all the scorecards, those are all his course records. Well, he would take his game to Japan in 1992, win the Dunlop Phoenix, and then head over to Europe. And we always knew, as soon as we sort of saw this amazing golf swing, that beautiful rhythm combined with this genius touch around the greens, that he had the game for major golf. And he would go on to prove that at the 1994 US Open at Oakmont. Incredibly difficult golf course. He would go through the longest playoff, full 18 holes of playoff. He couldn't separate himself from Lauren Roberts, who he would finally beat on the next hole for his first major victory at the age of 25. He wouldn't have to wait long for his next US Open victory against Colin Montgomery, again at Congressional, and Ernie Els forces his way onto the world stage with 2 US Open trophies. Well, it didn't always go his way. 3 or 4 times he had great opportunities at the Masters, you know, with the amazing ball flight that he had, natural drawer, beautiful chipper, superb putter. He had the game for major golf. Well, this was during the time period of Tiger Woods' dominance. The 2002 Open Championship, you know, this is with Tiger Woods in full flow. Tiger's won 7 of his last 11 majors. So difficult for all of the other players to get any kind of results, but nevertheless, Ernie Els goes to Muirfield. A double bogey, unfortunately, took him out of it, but he brilliantly birdied 17 to force his way into a playoff, and he was the last man standing. So now he's got his hands on that precious claret jug, and he would go on now into this next golden age, the age of what we used to call the Big Five: Vijay Singh, Ernie Els, Goosen, Tiger Woods, and Phil Mickelson, and they would, for 3 or 4 years, be fighting over every major trophy. Ernie Els did his fair share, but his game didn't really stay up at that top level, neither his fitness, and he rededicated himself in 2008, and for the first time he left David Ledbetter to go across to Butch Harmon. So if you think about the Els swing, the pace and the rhythm, you know, if you were to show a complete non-golfer, okay, this is how you should swing a golf club, you would pick Ernie Els' rhythm. Just magical. Really got those wrists to set early, and then it was this incredible body motion with this big weight shift here, and then just working through. So all of that weight was sort of finish and complete all the way through. So he's always very committed to his shots. He had a big swing, but Ernie felt as though his swing maybe was too big and he wanted something tighter and more compact, and so he went off to Butch to try to work on maybe a little bit flatter arm plane, a little bit more sort of compact right elbow, so he didn't have that sort of big backswing that he used to have. And certainly for a number of years, he really was able to keep the pressure up on those amazing players. The 2012 Open Championship has been Ernie's last real hurrah, his last victory. You know, Adam Scott looked as though he was absolutely going to take the Open Championship at Royal Lytham, and folded, unfortunately, with 4 closing bogeys. Last man standing was Ernie Els. So that was an incredible victory in a way handed to Ernie, but it allowed him to get back up into those top echelons. For the first time, Ernie Els hadn't been asked to go to the Masters, hadn't been invited, he hadn't made his qualifications. But nevertheless, if we look at what Els has done, he's been an incredible ambassador. I mean, how difficult is it to come out of South Africa and follow in the footsteps of Gary Player? Well, I think Ernie Els has done that in style. He took his game into the 4 corners of the globe, and he won in all of those different areas in perhaps the most competitive time period in the game of golf. But he's been an incredible role model for all of the next generation of South African golfers.